Objects don't lie. People do. And sometimes the historical accounts are from a certain perspective, and that's hard to wash out. So that's why scientists like myself do archaeology, because the ground always tells the truth. There's no way it can lie. We are able to find so much information by digging down into the past. And that, to me, is what's so significant about archaeology, especially here at San Jacinto. It's a very political battle. We know that. The versions from both sides don't always mesh. So it's important that we have the ability to truth those out by doing the research, doing the digging, finding the artifacts, finding the evidence in the ground.
San Jacinto Battleground has been home to artifacts for many years. And for just as many years, it has been home to artifact hunters. Artifacts walked away from the battleground immediately after the battle, and they didn't stop walking away for many years after that. The Mexican soldiers that were killed out here, their bodies laid out here for 2 years, and we know for a fact that some of their skulls were part of those artifacts that walked away. When the park was made in the early 1900s, they decided that they wanted to build some structures, the monument, the plaza area, things like that. And to build those structures, they had to remove the dirt where those structures would be built. When they removed the dirt, the artifact that was in the dirt went with it. And so people out in the surrounding cities were able to go through the dirt after those structures were built and take anything they pleased.
Currently, most of our archaeology is project-based. Archaeology ultimately is a destructive science. A lot of people have a misconception that archaeology, you want to go find stuff. Yes, but if it's in the ground, it's safe. So what we typically do out here is project-based archaeology. In other words, something is coming in and is going to disturb that soil. It's a new building, it's a new structure, it's a prairie planting, it's a roadway. So we want to look at what's there and make sure that we don't disturb or destroy anything. So we go in and do that project-based archaeology, because you only really have one shot to do the archaeology. The artifacts are wonderful, but the context is really what tells you everything. And you want to do that only when you have to. Why do we do archaeology at Battlefield? We have many first-hand historical accounts, but the truth of the matter is those are from one perception, and archaeology is a science, and it tries to take into account all those historic first-hand views and proof them on the ground. So we do archaeology out here to try to tell the full story. We'll never know exactly what happened on April 20th or April 21st, but through the historical records and what we find in the ground, we can get a better picture of the actual events that changed Texas, changed Mexico, and changed the United States forever. This has been a state park since 1907. There's been a lot of treasure hunting done, a lot of looting, but there has been an extensive amount of archaeology done. That archaeology really has confirmed a lot of the stories. One of the most recent archaeological investigations has pretty much confirmed the accounts of Alamonte's surrender are fairly accurate. When we find those artifacts, they need conservation. They've been sitting in the ground for 184 years right now. A lot of the artifacts we find out here that are battle-related are metal. They're the only things that survive that long. So they need to be conserved. The process of their deterioration needs to be halted and reversed. And so most of the archaeological objects found are in labs being conserved. Now, why aren't artifacts on display? That's kind of the dirty secret of museums and such. We want to preserve these artifacts. Displaying them does damage to them. The light, the breathing, the climate, all of that. So it is quite often the case that archaeological items are kept in dark rooms in a climate-controlled space to preserve them. Those that are put on display are usually the ones that really are compelling. The truth of the matter is most things dug up at an archaeological site are very mundane. They're not interesting. We have bags and bags of coins that were found that are modern coins, but they made it down into the excavations. For battle-related artifacts, there are multiple bayonets that were found. How many bayonets do you need on display to really tell the story?
One of the more interesting artifacts that I've come across out here is a bullet, a musket ball, that had a human bone fused inside it. We think that a Texian soldier shot that bullet So the bone is probably from a Mexican soldado. And I think it's just a really powerful visualization of the carnage that occurred here.
Favorite artifact? There are many. My personal favorite, I'm a coin collector, so there was a 1834 Zacatecas 8 real coin found in one of the excavations. The story behind that is absolutely unknown, but there's a lot of conjecture. Santa Anna took his army and put down an uprising in Zacatecas before he brought his army into Texas. So there's a distinct possibility that coin was part of that conflict and traveled with a soldier all the way from Zacatecas to here and was lost on the battlefield. Whether that soldier survived or not, we'll never know. But his coin lived on, and it tells a little bit of the story and connects San Jacinto to the bigger story of the Mexican Revolution. Archaeology is really best left for professionals. I know the temptation is out there to just pick up something off the ground, but there's a lot to that. First and foremost, it is illegal. This is a National Historic Landmark. It's a Texas archaeological landmark under federal and state laws, both under the National Historic Preservation Act and the Texas Antiquity Code. Removing artifacts from a state historic site or a national historic site is against the law. But more importantly, archaeology, the object itself, truly is not always as significant as the context. Where it was found, how it was found, what layer of soil, where on the battlefield it was found. All of that context is lost when someone picks up an object. Truthfully, the value in archaeology is always in the process. It is a destructive science. You destroy all the evidence as you're accumulating it. So you only get one shot. And if someone comes along and removes that artifact out of its context, we lose all the information related to that argument. So we always ask people to leave things on the ground. If you see something on the ground, please leave it there and let someone who works here know. And then we can go out and photograph it. And it might lead us to an archaeological investigation that could determine a lot of stuff based on that one artifact being in the location it is.